Whoa, Tesla dropped a bombshell on us last night, and they actually released the standard range Model Y. They said they weren't going to do it, but they actually did it anyways. So there's been tons of YouTubers explaining the prices and everything like that in the US, but nobody's really talked about it here in Canada. So let's go through the Canadian numbers and let's see what we get. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Yeah, so considered a bombshell. I mentioned bombshell there earlier, but is it really a bombshell? Because we knew that another trim level was going to come out. We all thought it was going to be the long range rear wheel drive. Instead, Tesla throws, I guess, maybe not a bombshell, but maybe throws a curveball to us and releases what they said they weren't going to release, which was the standard range. Now, this isn't standard range plus or anything like that. It's just called the standard range. It's got a single motor, it's rear wheel drive, and here in Canada it comes in at a surprising price of $56,290. Now, why I say it's a surprising number, because compared to the next level up, which is the all-wheel drive, that's almost $14,000 difference here in Canada. In the States, I think it's like about $8,000 difference. So let's go through the numbers, and then we're going to talk about the specs, and then we'll compare to the all-wheel drive and see where we lay here in Canada. So let's start with the numbers. Like I said, the base price, if you were to get no autopilot, nothing, and you just get the white and nothing else, just a base car straight from Tesla, it's going to cost you here in Canada $56,290. And then there's, you know, delivery fees and taxes and everything, and I'll tell you what that is in a second. Oh, and what I forgot to mention is the 7-seater is released too. Now, we were waiting for that, and a lot of people were expecting that. Now, they released that on the new standard range, and they released it on the all-wheel drive. There is no 7-seater for the performance. Probably expected. They probably figured no one's going to want it. So it's not on the performance, but it's on the standard and the all-wheel drive. And that here in Canada is $4,000 extra. In the States, it's $3,000. So, and a surprising move, unlike when the Model 3 came out, the SR Plus, they're the standard range plus, for the Model 3, they limited some of the interior stuff and some of the premium options, and they didn't make it premium. To get the premium interior and premium options, you had to get the all-wheel drive Model 3. Here, for the Model Y, everything you get in the all-wheel drive, you get in the standard range. So all cars will have premium interior and sound, whether it's a performance, an all-wheel drive, or a standard range. So one can assume if the long range ever does come out, it'll also have the same thing. So there's no surprise there. They obviously did that to streamline production. Moving on to FSD, that hasn't changed. That's still $10,600 here in Canada, and that won't change until we get FSD beta here in Canada, like Elon said when he released it in the States a few months ago. He gave it a week after the beta was released in that country, then it went up $2,000. Here in Canada, if and when that happens with the FSD beta, it's probably going to go up probably $3,000. It's probably going to go up to over $13,000, probably $14,000. So if you want to get it now. You lock in that FSD price. But that hasn't changed. And looking at all the other options in the design studio, nothing else has changed. Everything else is the same. Towing price is the same. The paint options are the same. And if you want white or black interior, they're all the same prices. So nothing's changed in terms of price there, just the actual price of the standard range. So let's move on to the specs. The specs are a little interesting here. So any of these specs or comparisons or pricing that you're curious about, or you differ from me, or you have a question, leave a comment down below, and we can discuss this after this video. So the specs: 393 kilometers of range for a full charge, which is equivalent to 244 miles. Now, one can say 393, why didn't they go to 400 kilometers? Or 244 miles, why didn't they go to 250 miles? And then it'll be a nice round number, 400 and 250. Why didn't they do that? Well, you know Tesla, how Tesla is. I have a feeling before long, there'll be a software update, and it'll be free, just like all the software updates, where it'll bump it up to 400 kilometers or 250 miles. It's so minor. It's what? A couple percent? I haven't done the math. A couple percent here or there. I think they'll find some kind of efficiencies in the motor and the drivetrain, and they'll bring it to 400 or bring it to 250. But even if they don't, it's basically 400 and 250. You could say it isn't if you want to be technical, but it basically is. A top speed of 217 kilometers an hour, which is more than enough for anyone. It's 135 miles. Nobody needs to go that fast or over that speed. I mean, especially in a compact SUV. That's just my opinion. The The 0-60 times is 5.3 seconds, which is respectable for a, what is it, a 4,500 pound car? That's respectable numbers. So that's the price, and those are the specs here in Canada for the Model Y, the standard range. So let's say you don't want any extras, you don't want a different color paint, because white's the standard, and let's face it, white's an awesome looking color on the Model Y or on any Tesla, especially that pearl white. You don't want any upgrades for the interior, you don't want a tow hitch, you don't want anything like that. You just want the standard range Model Y, and that's it. So here in Ontario, after you add the delivery fee and some licensing fee and a couple other, I think, an air conditioning tax and stuff like that, the total price with Ontario tax, which is HST, which is 13%, is $65,178.40. So that's all in. Here in Ontario, of course, other provinces are going to change, because in other provinces, you've got different rebates. Quebec, I think it qualifies for $8,000 rebate in Quebec. It qualifies for few rebates in BC and stuff like that. So every province is going to change, just like every state's going to change down in the States. They've got different things for different states and rebates and qualifications and tax write-offs and stuff like that. So here in Ontario, where I am, that's the price, $65,178.40. So basically $65,000 car, all in, taxes and everything. Okay, let's move on, folks. Let's compare the standard range Model Y to the all-wheel drive Model Y. Now, as we can see, weights and everything for the different motor and everything is going to be different. That's normal. Everything else seems to be the same. So let's compare the pricings. Like I said earlier, here in Canada, it's going to be $13,700 cheaper between the all-wheel drive and the standard range. So like I said, almost $14,000 drop for just one motor less. Of course, you don't have all-wheel drive, you'll have a rear-wheel drive, but anyone that has a rear-wheel drive Model 3 knows that there's no problem in the winter. Put on a good set of snow tires. The traction control and the stability control in these cars are better than anything I've ever seen. So if you don't agree with me, that's a debate for another video, and we can get into that another time. Let me see. Okay, the range, it's 132 kilometers less than the all-wheel drive, so it's about 82 miles difference there. So you're sacrificing 132 kilometers to save yourself almost 14 grand. That's something that I would tend to do. You got to remember, at the end of the day, 400 kilometers or almost 400 kilometers is good enough for majority of people. Probably 80 or 90% of the general public. 400 kilometers a day is good enough if you're going on a long road trip. Then if you're going on a long trip, you've got the awesome superchargers, so you don't have to worry about that. Moving down the list, the 0-60 times between the two different models are about a half-second difference. Instead of 5.3, you've got 4.8 for the all-wheel drive. That's what you'll get for the extra motor. But once again, half-second, almost $14,000 difference. You do the math, folks. The top speed is the same on both trims, 135 miles or 217 kilometers. So there you have it. So, you know, you get a half-second more, you get 132 kilometers more, but you're also paying almost $14,000 more. So you have to decide at the end of the day if the extra $14,000 is worth half a second faster speeds and 132 kilometers extra range. I know what I would do, but that's up to you. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which a lot of people on Twitter I was reading last night have been complaining about. We're talking about the standard range that wasn't even supposed to be here. Elon said they weren't even going to make it, and everyone was waiting for the long range rear-wheel drive, and that's nowhere to be found, nowhere to be heard of. Elon hasn't said anything, Tesla hasn't said anything. That's what a lot of people have put their money down on. On reveal day, they said that they were actually going to make a long range rear-wheel drive, and so far we've heard nothing of it. I think it will come out. I don't think Tesla's going to leave these people stranded. Now, a lot of people say it won't now that the standard range is here, and like the Model 3, it doesn't have a long range. They dropped that probably about a year ago. They don't have it in China. They just dropped it there in China. So a lot of people are worried that it may not come out. I have a feeling it'll come out just to satisfy those original people that reserved it. And then probably in another year from now, it'll also go away, and they'll just have the standard range and then the all-wheel drive, just like the Model 3. But they will release it, and I think if I had to guess, if I was a betting man, I'd say between the price it is now for the standard range that just was announced and what the price is for the all-wheel drive, I think the long range will come right somewhere in the middle, maybe leaning a little bit, maybe if not in the middle, leaning towards the all-wheel drive a little bit more. What we also found out last night, which was a little surprising in the design studio, was the delivery time. They say 2 to 5 weeks delivery. Now, I know production's going good, but that's incredible in my opinion, and that's surprising that they actually did it. Now, here in Canada, we're not going to see a car in 2 weeks. I can't see it. Not right now. If you ordered it today or you ordered it last night or if you ordered it within this week, you're not going to get it in 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is for people in California, down in the West Coast and stuff like that, close to Fremont. You're going to get the 2-week delivery, obviously. But anyone outside of that area, and as you get further and further away, like here in Canada, I think that's where the 5-week will come in. And maybe it'll even extend a little more than 5 weeks, depending on demand. Now let's talk about the federal rebate here in Canada, because a lot of people have been talking about it since the news dropped last night. And right now here in Canada, the only car that can take advantage of that in the Tesla lineup is the Model 3 standard range. The all-wheel drive Model 3 or the Performance doesn't take advantage of it, because how the federal government has it set up here, first off, they have to make a trim level that's $45,000. That's the entry level. So what they did with the Model 3 is they made the standard range. It wasn't called the Plus, it was just called standard range. They software locked it to 150 kilometers, and they didn't want anyone to buy it. That's why they software locked it so low. But at least by making that car and offering it off menu, it basically, I guess it was a workaround or a hack, I guess you could say, Tesla did for the rebate, and it enabled the Model 3 to qualify for it. And the other qualification, it can't be over 55,000 Canadian. So it has that narrow range it has to fall into. So in order for the Model Y to qualify for that, they're gonna have to make a software locked version that comes in at $45,000, just like they did with the Model 3, which is easy to do. That's just on paper. They don't have to actually sell it, it's just on paper. If somebody wants it, they're gonna get, I mean, I don't know why anyone would want it. It's crazy. And they'd have to lower the price to $55,000 for the standard range. So basically they'd have to take $1,290 off, or basically just under $1,300 off, which is very doable. I can see Tesla doing that. I think if they don't already know it, or if it's not already in the works, I think on social media we have to get the ear of Elon and put that in his ear and let him know, like, hey, listen, you want to sell more of these cars? Drop it by $1,300. You can find the savings somewhere, I'm sure, and you'll sell a lot more, because now you're taking a $55,000 car or a $56,000 car, and you're giving it to Canadians for $50,000. $50,000 plus tax. So that number I gave you, if they were able to do it, that number would come down to, with tax and everything, probably just under $60,000. So it's still a lot of money for some people, but look at what you get for under $60,000. That'll be a game changer in my opinion, folks. And lastly, with that federal rebate, it has something to do with the 7-seater too to qualify, and the same stipulations apply where it has to have an entry level at 45 and it can't be over 60. So it's $56,290, and then you add $4,000 for the 7-seater. So that would bring it just over 60,000. So you're basically, all Tesla would have to do is lower the price by $290, so under $300 they have to slash, and then it would qualify for the $5,000 too. So that's something that they could do, and a lot of people that want 7-seaters could get a car for $5,000 off. So there are things here in Canada that Tesla can do to help us out with the rebate. Let me know if you were eligible for the rebate. If Tesla were to make those changes, would you pull the trigger on a standard range? Let me know in the comments down below. So in closing, folks, that is the standard range here in Canada. Maybe not a bombshell, like I said, but definitely a surprise as Tesla dropped that on us last night. Tell me in the comments below, would you get one right now in the next week or two? Would you pull the trigger and order one? Or would you wait for the changes that just came to the Model Y in China, with all those changes with the biodefense mode, the heated steering wheel, the center console change, all those changes? Would you wait? Because they're not here in North America yet, but lo and behold, something tells me that they're going to come here in North America, as it did for almost anything that happened in China first. It trickled over here to North America. I think it's just a matter of time. So with that said, would you wait for it, or do you want to get it right now? Keep in mind, the FSD beta here in Canada could drop any day now, and then from there you have a week, and FSD is going to go up another $2 or $3 grand. That's if you care about FSD. If you don't care about FSD and you're going to wait for the subscription model, then you don't have to worry about the possible price increase. So let me know what you think. Would you wait, or would you pull the trigger right now and you want to get your 7-seater, you want your standard range, and you don't want to wait any longer? Let me know in the comments below. Well, that's all I got for you folks today. Tell me down in the comments below, are you going to get a standard range? Are you excited about the standard range? Or are you disappointed because the long range rear wheel drive didn't come out? Tell me what you think in the comments below, folks. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah.